welcome back. Good to see you.
Here we are, last day of February 28th.
It's been a barn burner.
It has been a lot of meetings this week.
We shouldn't joke about that based on that barn out in the valley.
Yeah.
Did you know that barn when you were at the county?
Yeah. Actually, I went out, I had a doctor's appointment day before yesterday, and my doctor's out in that area. I drove by it the day after it burned, and it's
Fun.
It's shocking, and kudos to whoever the fire response team was for that, because it's right in the middle of a bunch of residences, shopping center. There's a canyon or like a big hillside across the road.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah, interesting. Good article in the Pine Cone about it as well. So yeah, it's been a busy week. It's been a crazy week. And thank you to everyone who came out to numerous public meetings. We had the State of the City. We had a great turnout for that. We had an amazing turnout yesterday for the council's
best turnout ever. It was fabulous.
We'd order more food.
Yeah.
Just to ensure we could feed everyone. So, and you're going to debrief that a little bit. So the first note is thank you to everyone. This is part of the process that we strongly encourage, and we're grateful that everyone came out. And you need to continue that theme. Next week, we've got 2 council meetings. It's a Monday, Tuesday doubleheader. And again, we had some good coverage in the Pine Cone. Thank you, Mary, for that. We are going to start having a more robust social media profile. I think that's the terminology. So we do have an item on the Monday agenda for council to adopt a policy to regulate that and provide guidance on that.
And you're going to be the person in charge of all of our social media posts, right?
Yeah, it's me. The guy with no social media presence is going to be, you're going to be out there
taking selfies with business owners.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a couple times a day. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Cool.
No,
I can't wait.
That's not the case.
Oh.
As we said yesterday, what our objective is really to increase our transparency and increase our communication. So we'll see. I think we've got 8 followers already on Instagram. So
wow.
It's pretty phenomenal, the growth already. But so we have that on Monday and a couple of other items, a couple of closed session items. And then we have, one of the perennial favorites, artificial turf. On Tuesday, we've got recommendations from Forest and Beach and the Planning Commission on that, based on what happened in Sacramento.
A quick note on that one. It's not an ordinance, just so people know. We're not adopting an ordinance. It's actually just a policy.
Yeah.
It's actually something that, could have been done at the, staff and Planning Commission level, but we have some of these policies, like our wine tasting policy, that we feel like it's important because it's a village-wide situation that we want to get the city council to put their stamp on. So it's not an ordinance. It's not as formal as that. It's just a policy.
Right. Good. Well, thank you. That's perfect. I love that. We've got an appeal of a Planning Commission decision regarding a metal roof. So metal roofs is a topic that's very hot right now. Again, no pun intended. But so the council will wrestle with, I think we've got a couple of appeals on metal roofs.
Next week, just one,
right?
But coming up in the queue,
right?
The following month.
This is the council's opportunity to provide some overarching policy guidance on the applicability and the appropriateness of metal roofs in the village. So that's an appeal, the Planning Commission decision, and then based on the Grants Pass Supreme Court decision, we're poised to adopt an ordinance regarding camping on public lands, which the Supreme Court has said we can regulate. So we're poised for that. And that's what I have, and then I think we'll close out with one kind of sad note, one important highlight.
So you mentioned the strategic priority meeting that we had yesterday over at Carpenter Hall. It was the best attended one we've had in the 5 years I've been here, maybe ever. There was a joke yesterday, although it was the truth, that the very first one of those we had at Carpenter Hall, there was only one attendee, and it's our current mayor.
Yeah.
He was the only person that attended the first one of those.
Yeah, it may not have been the first one, but it was one of the ones where we just...
The more structured version that we're doing now, I think, right?
I'm not sure, but it was one of the first ones.
Okay, fair enough. But there was a point in time where he was the only one.
Yes.
So anyway, yesterday's meeting was great. We used the whole time from 10 to 3. And part of that was because we started the meeting talking about a new approach to how we look at our priorities, report our priorities, organize our priorities, And I think that was really productive. The council, the idea kind of sprung out of the mayor and the mayor pro tem. And it seemed to me that the whole council and the community, frankly, embraced the new approach. So our task is we went through the existing list of council priorities, went through all those to make sure we didn't forget anything, and made sure that there's stuff on there that the council wanted to maintain on a new list that they will have to approve. So we have our staff proposed list of what we think the top priorities are for us to be working on. Again, that's just a staff proposal. Council is ultimately the one who makes that decision and determines what the priority list is. But the notion is getting staff more involved in what those priorities are and how we execute them. And so you and I and the leadership team, we're going to take the next month and coalesce the two lists and then come back at the regular meeting in April to City Council to finalize what the priority list is, how we execute it, how we prioritize the items within the list. So we'll have that conversation in April at the regular City Council meeting, either Monday or Tuesday. We don't know yet. But it was a good meeting.
Correct. Yeah, it was a great meeting. It was great. The hours just actually flew by. I thought, could we fill 5 hours? But we did. We actually could have used...
We had to hustle. We could have used another hour.
We could have used another hour.
Yeah.
So it was great. I had no words left last night to say to my kid, but yeah, it worked out well.
That's great. I'm sure that your kid was thankful for that too.
She was totally grateful.
Yeah. Big kudos to Nova and Emily. And Juanita helped as well, but Nova led the charge on setting the meeting up, which people think just happens, and it doesn't. So good job, Nova. And to our IT team, Joel and Dan, thank you guys for doing a little bit of a last minute shuffle to move the meeting back over there and get it set up and pretty much run flawlessly. You know, when you start a meeting like that, you have to fine tune the room, so there's a little bit of feedback, but it went great. So thanks to everybody involved in that.
We could not have had it in this room. We wouldn't have had the
I'm so glad we made that
estate.
decision. Actually, it was a wise choice. We also had a meeting this week, as you said, lots of meetings with the Planning Commission. It was a special meeting to talk about implementing our housing element. Marnie and Anna led that conversation. And remember, we're sort of on two tracks right now. We're working on an amendment to our housing element, which would allow us to move the housing sites off of the two city-owned parking lots. But we're also working on implementing the housing element that was adopted by the City Council. That's something that we have to do over the next 7 years. So they were having conversations with the Planning Commission about what those zoning code changes might look like. Early conversations, so lots of time to still get involved. And then last but not least, thanks to the Board of Trustees, the Library Board of Trustees, and everyone who came out for that meeting this week as well. It's always a good conversation with them and lots to talk about in our libraries, which are so beloved in the city.
Yeah, and it was great. There was a presentation by one of MJ Murphy's great nieces or a relation who talked about her experience and the history of MJ Murphy in construction here in Carmel. So that was a wonderful little tribute and attribute to the knowledge base of the community at large, as well as the trustees.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of tributes, I think we're ready to close it out. Why don't you go ahead, Jeb?
Yeah. Some sad news. A week ago yesterday, former City Council member Jan Reimers died. So we're all thinking about that and dwelling on that. She sat right here next to me for many, many years. Just an incredibly sweet, intelligent, hardworking council member, a passionate advocate and defender of the village and our traditions and the North Dunes. I think the North Dunes were really one of her strongest passion points. But she, I will miss her. I'm reflecting. The one time, the dumb story I have is the one time she got frustrated at me. It's unbelievable. She only got frustrated at me once. But she got frustrated and she was like, "I'm a little bit angry at you, dear," kind of a thing. She actually brought me a bottle of bourbon that's still in my office as an apology for getting frustrated with me. And seriously, it was like she was frustrated for about 3 seconds. And so it's not opened. But maybe we'll crack that open with members of the community in the future. I know some of the ladies that she served with, including council members Tice and Hardy and Ferlito. kind of all had a glass of wine in her remembrance on Wednesday or Thursday when I shared the information with her. So there will be she was the Church of the Forest at Stevenson. There will be some kind of a ceremony to celebrate her life in the future. So when we get that information, we'll certainly share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's a nice way to close it out in remembrance of Councilmember Reimers. And with that, we'll just tell everyone to take good care.